Hello and welcome to Your Stocks in the Mumbai News Studio. I'm Ekta Batra and with me is Vinny Motiwala. Well, it's turning out to be a session where we are seeing a bit of a surge come in for the mid-cap index as well as for the bank Nifty. So currently the mid-cap index, which was mostly consolidating for the entire trading session, has now spiked up around 0.5%. So there is second half buying which is taking place. Let's see whether that sustains or not. As of now, the advanced decline ratio is absolutely even keel. So 1:1 is currently where the advanced decline ratio is at. And let's see whether there's any kind of further improvement or sustainability in the mid-cap index. As of now, the screen is green and the bank Nifty is outperforming. Hi, Vinny.
Screen is green, bank Nifty is outperforming, so it's surely an interesting day. But we have few names also individually. BSE, Aptus, Value, CDSL, which are trading quite with strong gains, good volumes that we're seeing for these stocks. Also, IEX, something that we're seeing and watching out for. That's a bit under pressure today right now. So let's keep an eye on these stocks in the last hour of trade, also last couple of hours of trade and where that is headed. But let's get started with all your stock-related queries. And to solve that, we do have our experts for today, Astha Jain of HEM Securities joining in with us, as well as Ruchit Jain from 5paisa.com to solve all your queries. They're going to be answering that in the next half an hour. Good afternoon, Ruchit, as well as Astha. Ruchit, before we start with the queries, let's just take a look at, what the market has been doing today. When you look at the benchmark indices, pretty much in that range, not much of a movement that we're seeing. It opened up, yes, much higher, then that fell off, and then it's been in that range. What's the word on the markets? How are we looking at the Nifty at least today?
Yeah, hi, very good afternoon to all of you. Well, last few trading sessions, we have seen this correction in the markets has mainly been led by FIs, where they have sold equities in the cash segment, and in the index futures also, they have been on the short side. Now, their long-short ratio since last 2-3 days is around 35%, means 65% of their positions are still on the short side now. While at the start of the series, they were 81% long. So this complete change in the view which is there from FIs, I think that's what is restricting the market's up move. And technically, 25,250 is the hurdle on the hourly chart, which should be surpassed for any deeper pullback retracement. So right now, we expect the index to continue to trade within a range of 25,250 on the high side and 24,800 to 700, which is a support range on the lower side. So I think over here, if you are a short-term trader, then trading with a stock-specific approach could be much better rather than taking any directional bet on the index until we see a breakout on either side.
Okay, all right. 24,700 to 24,800 is probably the downside support that you would look at. Ruchit, thanks very much for that. But let's get in some queries now. We have Rahul, who writes to us from Chennai. He holds 30 shares of HDFC Bank, which he's bought at 1480. He's a short-term investor and wants to know what to do, whether he should hold or sell this particular counter. He's sitting on a profit at this point. So stock is up around 2% at this point as well. The big trigger obviously is going to be earnings, Astha. In context of that, HDFC Bank, what would you recommend? Medium to longer term as well, and maybe even short term based on earnings.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone out there. On the basis of earnings, we are believing that this company will be posting earnings with a CAGR growth of around 10 to 12%, basically 12%, and that too from FY24 to 26. Looking after that, and we are building the ROA expectation of around 1.8%. So we are believing that this bank will be showing strong performance in the longer term when the transition period gets over. So on that basis, we are positive on this counter, recommending a hold as well as buying on dip strategy can also be applied to this counter. Initial price target which we are giving to this counter is at around 1750 to 1765 odd levels.
Okay, keeping an eye out on the target, better as obviously as a long-term play once everything works out in terms of the consolidation of the company. But Ruchit, on the short term, what is the view for HDFC Bank?
So we get last 4 months, the stock has not shown any trended phase. In fact, it has consolidated within a broad range of 1600 to 1800. Twice it went up to that 1800 mark, but corrected. Whenever it's coming around 1600, we are witnessing a buying interest over there. So I think even if he's a short-term trader, then prices are now trading quite close to that lower end of the range. So it's better to hold on at current levels. When the stock goes towards 1760, 1800, which is the resistance end, then take a review again. Depending upon the price volume action, you can take a decision over there. But at current price, you can hold on since the risk reward ratio is favorable over here.
Okay, that's the view coming in on HDFC Bank. But let's move on. And the next query we have is a caller query. We have Raghavendra Rao joining in with us from Hyderabad. Their query is on BSE. Raghavendra, good afternoon. And what is your query on BSE?
Good afternoon, madam. I'm Raghavendra, Hyderabad. I'm holding 165 shares of BSE at the rate of 588. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can I hold or can I book at least partial profits?
Okay. Astha, I'm going to take this to you. The viewer has bought it at 588 BSE, so obviously clearly making good profits. Continue to hold or sell? What is your word on this one, Astha?
So I would recommend to hold this counter, and our price target for this counter is at around 4,920, 4,950 at the initial levels. Although we are expecting it to cross 5,000 levels also, but at the initial levels, we are giving these small targets. Talking about this counter has really shown strong momentum. And what we are seeing right now is that more participation is we are seeing in the members, and especially the Star Mutual Fund business is also doing very well, and increased interest in the derivatives market is also working great for this company. So we are positive on the BSE Limited counter and recommending hold on this counter. Price target which we are giving it to it as at around 4,900 to 4,950 the initial level, although we are expecting it to cross 5,000 also in the longer term.
Okay, all right. So expected to cross 5,000 in the longer term. Ruchit, what about you? What is your fundamental target price on this particular counter? You know, it's done fabulously well. It's up 100% in 3 months. It's up over 200 odd % in a longer term time frame. What's your recommendation on it?
So overall trend, no doubt, continues to remain positive, although the stock has rallied, as you said. But still, if you look at the volumes at current levels, even though it's its all-time high, still the stock is able to garner very good volumes, which is indication of a fresh buying interest even at current levels. So I think, and good thing is that the buy price is quite low. So even if the stock goes through some time-wise corrective phase or that some pullback move, then the margin of safety is good over there. So if it's a long-term investor, you can continue to hold on. Targets as per the retracements initially seen around 5,120. So you can expect levels around 5,120 in the near term. And positionally, if the trend continues, then we can also expect 5,800, 5,850 kind of levels in the stock. So no signs of reversal as of now. So it's better to hold on to the stock.
Okay, better to hold on to the stock at this point. No signs of reversal. That's the word coming in on BSE. Now we have Sharath, who writes to us from Pune, who holds 30 shares of Tata Motors at 850 odd rupees. So sitting on a profit there, wants to know what to do, whether to hold or to sell at current levels. Well, this stock has run up significantly, Ruchit, Tata Motors. Do you think that there's further upside on the technicals? And do you think that it can probably cross that 1,000 mark sustainably?
So the stock is going through some short-term corrective phase. In the month of August, it made a high of around 1,180 from where it's now 930. But if I look at the longer-term charts, then this does not seem to be a trend reversal, but just a correction within an uptrend. Because in last 1 year, we had also seen a significant run-up. So major support for the stock is coming around 870 levels, which is I think a bit above the buy price. So if you can give some time for the stock, then certainly I would recommend to continue to hold on. It's a short-term corrective phase which could continue maybe for another few weeks. But once the stock resumes its uptrend, then you can again expect levels of around 1,100 in the name. So my advice would be to hold with some more time frame.
Okay. Astha, what's your advice on Tata Motors? How are you looking at it? Numbers, obviously, earnings season is just about to start. And global OEMs, while they have highlighted a bit of a concern about, the demand subduedness, what are you thinking for Tata Motors? Do you think any of that is a worry for Tata Motors right now?
I think in the long term, it won't be a worry. Yes, in the shorter term, as we have seen that there is a dip in the volumes also. But what we are believing that Jaguar Land Rover, basically it is on its track of becoming net debt free, which the management has guided years back. So by FY25. So, and all the other operational parameters are also proving strong for this company in the longer term. So yes, in the shorter term, there might be some hiccups, but in the longer term, we are positive on the financial performance by this company, and hence we are also recommending hold on this counter. Initial price target which we are giving for this counter is around 1,045.
Okay, 1045 is basically the target that you have on Tata Motors. We have some numbers coming in, Sterling and Wilson, on your screen. There's been an improvement in terms of margins, so almost 2% versus 0.1%, and they've turned a profit versus a loss on a year-on-year basis. So there's a turnaround which has taken place, reflecting on the stock as we speak. But we do have Santosh Nair, who writes to us from Kerala now. He holds 50 shares of Glenmark Pharma at 269. So since April 2010, diligent, patient investor wants to know the future prospects for this particular stock, sitting on a fantastic profit there. Astha, over to you on this one. Do you think that there's further upside for Glenmark Pharma, considering that they are, getting over the issues with regards to debt, etc., but they do have that overhang when it comes to the US business being a bit sluggish?
But the domestic business is doing well for this company, especially now they have increased their presence in the dermatology, cardiac, respiratory segment, and with the launch of this Ryaltris, I hope I am pronouncing it right, Ryaltris, which is into the respiratory. It is a sort of a nasal spray because they've already launched it in the Europe, and there it is a kind of a good success, and now they are planning to launch into the other markets also. I think that will also helping the company in boosting strong numbers going ahead. So we are positive on this counter in the longer term. Recommending a hold as well as buying on dips can also be applied to this counter as a strategy wise. Initial price target can be set at around 1965 to 1970 odd levels.
Okay, positive on Glenmark Pharma. Further upside also is what we're expecting here. That's the word from Astha. Ruchit, are you also concurring with that? Because last 1 year, almost from 1,000 levels today, or 900 levels, we are seeing it move to 1,800 levels. Furthermore, upside is what you are also expecting.
Yes, quite possible. It's in a long-term uptrend, and in such an uptrend, we usually use Elliott wave theory to see whether the uptrend could continue. And and according to Elliott wave theory, an uptrend usually have 5 waves, and the stock is still in its 3rd wave. So still wave 4 consolidation and another wave 5 up is still pending. So I think the stock could see further up moves in mid to long term. As per retracement, the initial resistance would come around 1940, 1950 kind of level, which you can expect in the short term. But since it's a long-term investor, I think this 5th wave, which could end or where the stock could go higher, is coming around. The levels are coming around 2350. So I think over a period of time, the stock should continue its up move. There could be in between corrections because of overbought setups, but I would recommend to hold for potential targets around 2350 in this.
Okay, all right. So that's on Glenmark Pharma, complete outperformer, which is taking place within the pharmaceutical space. Well, for the markets right now, we have Hero Moto, Infosys, Indocin, Kotak, Dr. Reddy's, all of these stocks gaining. So there is a lot of interest which is coming into specific stocks within the Nifty space. In fact, only 20 stocks which are currently in the red. Reliance, which comes out with numbers later today, is just about trading with a little bit of a negative bias. So do watch out for that. Well, we need to take a short break. More queries on the other side. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching Your Stocks on CNBC-TV18, and let's keep it going with all your stock-related queries. We have Astha Jain as well as Ruchit Jain, who are answering all your doubts on the stocks. But the next query we have today right now is from Rajesh Kumar, who's writing to us from New Delhi, holding 75 shares of Yes Bank at a price of 50 rupees per share. So yes, they're making a loss right now on this one. He wants to know whether they should continue to stay invested, wait and watch, or maybe now just start booking their losses. Ruchit, coming to you, what's the word on Yes Bank? What should the viewer be doing?
So technically, there are no positive signs over here. It has been consistently forming that low top, low bottom structure, and in between pullback moves that also we witnessed in the June end of July, the pullback moves are getting sold into. So I think there's no point expecting any kind of reversal, at least in the near term. So technically, since it's a downtrend, I would recommend an exit from this one.
Okay, all right. And what about you, Astha?
Since the results are around the corner, so we would like to wait for the results to come in and then we'll review the query again. But I think the way this bank is showing now a turnaround stories and the turnaround story. And what we have seen is there is a significant fall in their GNP and NNPA level, but that is from FY21 to FY24. So, and in fact, they have shown a strong reduction in the slippages also. So the bank is trying to show improvement in the asset quality, but what we really need to see how the core operating performance is going on, and that is why we are waiting for the results. So my idea here is to wait for the results and then make any sort of entry into the stock prices or any sort of adjustment in the stock right now.
Okay, got it. Well, now we have Sandeep, who writes to us from New Delhi. He holds 60 shares of LIC, which he's bought at 864. So he's sitting on a profit there. He wants to know what to do, whether to hold or to add more of LIC. Well, we've discussed this before as well, and it's a counter where we do get a lot of queries. What would you recommend, Astha, from a fundamental perspective? The largest insurer of India, would you recommend that it would be a portfolio stock? One should probably just add and forget about it?
I think one can book partial profit here rather than holding it for the longer term, because although AUM wise it is the largest company and the number of agents are also high, but the operational performance is still not very satisfactory, and we really need to see that sort of improvement in the performance going ahead. So my idea here is to stay partially and to book partial profit. This is what we are recommending for this counter. So our idea is to book some profit at the current levels.
Okay, book profits at the current levels. That's the word coming in from you. But on the charts and technicals, Ruchit, what is LIC looking like? What are we watching out for here in terms of levels?
The stock is in a broad trading range. If you look at the start of this calendar year, in the month of January, it was trading around 900 kind of levels, and still it's not far there from that 900 mark. So I think it's more of a time-wise correction which is going on. But the good thing is that on the weekly charts, the 100 weeks moving average is around that 900. So I think the price-wise downside seems to be very limited from here on. And we have already seen a correction in last 1.5 to 2 months from the higher end. So these are not the levels where I would recommend an exit, but can wait for a pullback move at least towards 1100 and then take a review again over there.
Okay, sure. Keeping an eye out on that. But let's move on to the next query. We have our Nagarajan, who's writing to us from Chennai, holding 1,000 shares of Chennai Petro at a price of 1,026 rupees per share. So making some bit of a loss right now. Wants to know whether they should continue to hold or maybe look to sell at current levels. Astha, what's your view on Chennai Petro?
So Chennai Petro, the Q1 of FY25 was disappointing because we have seen 38% drop in the bottom line. Although valuations are at really very attractive level because it is trading at a P multiple of 5. But looking after the kind of performance the stock has posted and the margins are also lower, we are not very much optimistic at this point of a time. But still, results are there. So we are recommending to wait for the results rather than booking losses at the current moment.
Okay, all right, Astha as well as Ruchit. Well, on that note, we have to thank you. Thanks very much for joining in and giving us all of your perspective. Well, we leave the markets in fine fettle right now. Just watch out for Wipro, which is now spiked to the high point of the day. It's up around 4%, doing well in trade today. It's expected to still release its Q1 numbers. But nonetheless, there is buying which is coming into the IT space. And besides that, a lot of these heavyweights such as Larsen & Toubro, HDFC Bank, ITC, all of these stocks seeing some amount of upside in today's trading session. The mid caps also cooled off a tad bit from the day's high, but nonetheless still better than what it was trading at for most of the trading sessions, so up around 0.4%. It's a wrap on the show, but do remember to email us your queries. We'll address them with our experts. Closing bell up next.